So today we're going to be going over polymer clay, which can be used for detailed sculpting like some things like this. What I'm using today is specifically Super Sculpey because it's very good about not taking fingerprints and taking a lot of detail. So the first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to cut off yourself a piece, and then you're going to do something called conditioning the clay. So when you first cut off your polymer clay, it's going to be very brittle and prone to tearing in odd ways. And the very simple way to fix this and get your clay uh, sculpting ready is you're just going to want to, when you don't have any other tools, you're going to just roll it around in your hands and squeeze it and continually do this until it gains this soft, pliable texture. Um, in a more professional setting, you would have a pasta roller that would do this for you, but you see here this unconditioned clay tears apart in weird ways. But this stuff, you know, it's very soft. It's tough, but it's soft. So there's two main kinds of sculpting tools that you're going to be using for polymer clay. That's going to be metal and silicone tools. So here I have both of them, and I will give you some examples of what both of them are capable of with a model something like. So here we're going to be doing the very basic shaping with just your hands. But then after that, I'm going to go in with these tools I have are actually very particular in that they both have metal and silicone tips. So to start this off, we're going to go with a metal ball tool. So here we're coming in and we're grabbing that, we're pouring out of our tools. And we're grabbing that metal ball. Now this is good for, this has both a silicone and a ball tip, but this is good for pushing around a large amount of clay because the smooth metal does not stick to the clay, but also it has rigidity so it can move large quantities of clay around and really get you those broad stroke sculpting. My hands are not going to be in frame for a large amount of this video in tradition of a design tutorial video. And here now I'm going for a silicone tip. This is a just kind of like a little fine pointer, and that lets you still move around clay, but get a lot in and get more of those organic flowing shapes in here. I'm using this to put some strange little gum lines on this guy. So your silicone tools, because they have a lot more play and bend in them, they're going to be useful for high detail and kind of organic sculpting. We're going to be able to kind of play into the strengths of these soft tips to move stuff around and smooth things out without putting too harsh of marks into the clay that you're going to have to fill in later. Here I'm coming in and I'm grabbing a directly metal tool, just, a tool that's just metal tools. Um, and these are good because of the opposite reasons that the silicone tools are good, in that they're extremely rigid. They just slice right through the clay, as you can see there with me putting in that tooth line. You can see it just, you know, like a knife. It's not that sharp, but it cuts through like it is. So I'm going to be using that here to put down these deep vertical lines through the teeth. And this is the kind of stuff that you want to be using metal tools for, is when you need those super sharp, uh, high impact details where you're moving a lot of clay or you're plunging really deep or you need a very precise line. Here, it's a lot more of the same. I've sped everything up for your guys' sake, but I'm going in and I'm using those silicone tools whenever I need more soft details. Then I'm using those metal tools whenever I need to push a lot around a lot of clay, need a lot of hard detail. Just continuing to work on this strange little skull man. Here I actually ran out of conditioned clay and I'm making more by cutting that up with a little card ruler and then crushing it around in my hands. As I said before, if you're going to be using polymer clay a lot, it's a good idea to get a small pasta roller for making like flat sheets of pasta because you can run clay through that and it will condition it for you. You're going to notice that the film quality is going to improve soon because I had to re-record this. Let's say you finished your sculpture and you notice, oh my gosh, there's a thumbprint in my clay. You can just kind of barely see it there. Sculpey is not the best thing to do this because Super Sculpey does not take thumbprints. But say you're gonna get a solvent of some kind. I'm using Goof Off acetone, which I honestly would not recommend because this is very strong. You can just use rubbing alcohol, but you're going to paint that on there, and that's going to melt the clay a little bit, and that will take away those surface imperfections. This is after drying. The lines that you're seeing are not actually dimensional streaks. That's just visual. That clay is perfectly smooth. I'll ask that you ignore that this is a different piece, but for baking, you're going to want to put your piece out on a baking sheet, preferably with wax paper so that you know that it will not stick. The temperature for different polymer clays is going to vary, but for Super Sculpey specifically, that's a tongue twister. It's recommended that you bake it for 275 for 15 seconds. Sorry, minutes. 15 minutes for every quarter of an inch of thickness. In my experience, though, anything over 30 minutes is probably just going to burn the outside. 30 minutes is plenty. And after that, you will have your rock solid, perfect model.